Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. So there was a report, was it from Field Yates? Correct me if I'm wrong. You just wrote about
Jeremy Fowler.
Jeremy Fowler. You just wrote about it on the site, sportstalkatl.com. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. Montez Sweat, the Falcons reportedly were willing to offer him that extension, which is something that we talked about. You're not going to trade for any of these guys a second-round pick unless you're willing to offer him an extension. But I think the more notable part of this whole thing is he reportedly was interested in coming back home and playing for the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, the exact words from Fowler, whether, those are true is another thing entirely, but that's all we can go off of. The words from Fowler were Sweat wanted to be in Atlanta. He's from Atlanta. His family lives around the area. So it's very clear that was a motivating factor. And I think that the interesting thing in all of this is, what have the Bears done in recent years to give us any, confidence that they know what they're doing in this Montez Sweat scenario? They're trying to trade Jalen Johnson, who is a very good cornerback. They didn't end up doing that because they can't work out a contract extension with him. They just traded last year a second-round pick for I'm blanking, wide receiver, Notre Dame. Claypool. Ended up trading him for pennies on the dollar. Now they acquire Montez Sweat. And the quote coming out of the Bears office is they're going to at least make an effort to offer Sweat an extension. That would not inspire confidence in me if I was a Bears fan. This has the potential to blow up in the Bears' face because Montez Sweat holds all of the leverage, not 100% of the leverage, because the franchise tag does exist and that gives the team a little bit of leverage. But Montez Sweat holds all the leverage. If he doesn't want to sign a contract extension with Chicago, he certainly doesn't have to. But then again, listen, dollars make sense. And around the NFL, there's a lot of contracts that don't make sense, and the Bears are an organization that seem like one to hand out a contract that's going to pay him upwards of close to $25 million, which he does not deserve. That should be reserved for the most elite edge rushers, the Max Crosbys, the Nick Bosas of the world. And I love Montez Sweat as a player, wanted him in Atlanta, but he's not worth that. And it seems like the Bears are going to be willing to offer that. And if that's the case, Falcons fans can kiss that dream goodbye. But on the off chance that he does not want to play for that organization, and why would you? For all of Atlanta's faults, for all the Falcons' faults, they've had misstep after misstep. The Bears are somehow a worse organization. They've done nothing right in pretty much their entire juncture outside of those 80s Bears with Ditka. So I wouldn't blame Sweat if he didn't want to stick to that organization long term. This has a chance to blow up in their face if he leaves in free agency.
Yeah, and that would be best case scenario for the Falcons, right? Somehow that they don't want to offer him the 20 plus million. Because listen, we're looking at a scenario, right, where the Bears, and this might be the case for all of their free agents, because who really wants to go play in Chicago? I mean, Chicago's a great city, but it's also freezing. You got a lot of players from the South that aren't interested in playing in the freezing cold. They've shown they have no plan. They have no direction. Who knows if Justin Fields is the guy? I know the Falcons don't have much of a plan either, but everything that they've done has been a complete mess. So it seems like a case where the Bears are going to have to, overpay to keep him, but they're going to have to probably overpay to keep any free agents that they want, because why would anybody want to go to Chicago? But yeah, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. Falcons fans were disappointed, but at the end of the day, the Bears probably overpaid here, sending a glorified first-round pick, a top of the line second-round pick, which the Falcons would have had to match by sending, or outbid them by sending a first-round pick for Sweat, and that just was never going to happen. So as much as it sucks not getting a talent like Sweat in the building, especially after the loss of Grady Jarrett, and I know everybody wants to win now, at the end of the day, it could end up a best-case scenario where if the Bears aren't willing to give him that number and he gets a similar number from the Falcons, he takes the Falcons' offer, you keep your second-round pick, and everybody's happy because, like we said, it really is all about the future. The bigger part of this trade was going to be the extension, and if they can somehow get him in free agency, or really anybody of the caliber of Sweat in free agency, it's going to be a win for the Falcons because they get to keep their second-round pick.
Yeah, I do want to make a note of just how dysfunctional, and I'm sorry If you come across this video because you're a Bears fan interested in Montez Sweat, I'm sorry to have to do this, but listen, if you don't recognize the state of your organization, then that's on you. The Bears traded Roquan Smith, who is arguably the best linebacker in football. Arguably, you could have your, Fred Warners of the world. If that's your choice, then that's your cup of tea. But let's not make any bones about it. Roquan Smith is one of the best. They traded Roquan Smith instead of paying him, only to go out and spend way too much money on TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, two of the same kind of linebackers that you could have just forked over and paid Roquan Smith the kind of money that he was looking for. That's just the kind of organization that the Bears are. They have no foresight. It's very similar to the Falcons, where they make moves that make sense right then and there and don't think 2-3 steps down the road. And I feel like this is something that's very possible with Montez Sweat. That could happen. I mean, did they even check in and see if he wanted to become a Bear? I know that money talks and he doesn't really have a choice in the matter to a certain extent, but Chicago seems like Ryan Pace seems like he's going to be out of job here in a couple years, because it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. I love the DJ Moore acquisition. There's no doubt about that, but this is going to be a pivotal offseason for them. They're set to have 2 top 5 picks as of right now. The draft order looks. Are they going to keep Justin Fields, surround him with talent, draft a tackle, Marvin Harrison Jr.? Are they going to go get Caleb Williams or Drake May and then move? This is a pivotal offseason. And if I was the Bears owner, if I was a Hallis member, I would have to be sure that Ryan Pace is our guy, because this is an offseason that can just sink your ship or can have you flying. And Montez Sweat is all about that, especially if you give him, 5 years, $125 million.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, the Washington Commanders would not let teams negotiate or, talk to Montez Sweat about a potential extension going into these negotiations. So I doubt there were any conversations. So they really are just hoping here that he'll take some sort of deal. Coming up after the break, I want to talk college football playoff, the initial rankings. Did they get it right?